Hello, this is Keith, welcoming you to the 2003 edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline the 4th of June 2015. The readers this week are Janet, Sally and Keith, with Robin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, under their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Ferdinand Bouillon and Harry Breur, and is performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. Local stories include Community in Shock after children mugged in park, and a world-class housing development. First of all, the special news items. Here's a notice from Enfield Vision. Please note that due to another event taking place at the Park Avenue Disability Centre, there will be no drop-in meeting on June the 18th. The next drop-in meeting will take place on Thursday, July the 16th from 10:30 to 12:30 p.m. Here's a note about the annual general meeting. The annual general meeting of the Enfield Talking newspaper will take place on Tuesday the 30th of June at 7:30 p.m. Refreshments will be provided. Due to room availability issues at the Park Avenue Disability Centre, this year the AGM will be held at Community House, 311 4 Street, Edmonton, London N9OPZ. That's Community House, 311 4 Street, Edmonton. We would like as many listeners as possible to attend. We hope to provide a transport service by minibus if numbers permit. If you'd like to attend the AGM and would like assistance with transport, please contact Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578 and leave a message with your name and home address. That's Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578 and leave a message if you'd like to attend the AGM and would like assistance with transport. Now, our usual news items about the home library service. The service is part of Enfield Libraries and provides a delivery service to people living in the borough who are unable to visit a branch library due to age, mobility, disability or their caring responsibilities. We visit each of our members every 4 weeks. The service is free and we will tailor it to your taste. For visually impaired people, we can provide books in large print or recorded books on CD or cassette. We can also bring music on CD or films on DVD for people with some vision. Members are free to reserve particular items. If you'd like to join the home library service or know someone who would, please call 01992 716 010 and we will arrange for the community access librarian to visit you. That's 01992 716 010. Enfield Macular Disease Support Group. The Enfield Macular Disease Support Group meets on the second Wednesday of every month from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Trinity Church Hall, Gentleman's Row, Enfield EN2 6AN. The meetings are open to anyone affected by central vision loss, and carers are welcome too. For further details, please contact Alan Newson on 020-8886-5659. That's Alan Newson on 020-886-5659. If you are experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She is your listener's representative and she will be pleased to help you. Now Janet will read the first item of local news.
People living close to a park where 3 teenagers were threatened with a knife have spoken of their shock. The teenagers, aged between 13 and 15, were mugged at knife point in Enfield Town Park last week by a gang of teenagers who took their phones. 2 teenagers were arrested in the park after police used a helicopter and dogs to hunt for the attackers. Those living in roads close to the park fear there has been an increase in antisocial behaviour in the area. Linda Baer of Essex Road said she was shocked but not surprised at the incident. She said, "It's a shock to have something happen so close to your doorstep, but antisocial behaviour is not uncommon around here, especially in the park. People always find a way into it at all hours." She added, "Children continue to carry knives, and this is another example of that. It feels like the area is on the decline. Figures on police.co.uk show that in the first 3 months of 2015, there were 257 reported crimes in the area around the park and in Enfield town, of which 72 were antisocial behaviour. Vanessa Quinn of Riley Road, next to the park, admitted she was disappointed to hear of the latest incident and feared a return of gangs in the area. She said, "There has been gang activity in the park before, but that all seemed to go away a couple of years ago. That being said, this latest incident is very disappointing and worrying to hear. I don't know whether it was opportunist kids and a one-off mugging, or whether this is something more serious. But either way, it is not good news for Enfield town." One Cecil Road resident of more than 30 years, who did not want to be named, said, "I'd be very surprised if this is gangs at work. I've seen school children from different schools fight over the years, and I'd imagine that this is what has happened. I think there could be a larger police presence during the summer in Enfield town and the park. As children come out of the schools and head to the park, there is bound to be tension." The Enfield Independent reported last week that pressure from campaigners had forced Enfield Council to reconsider plans to keep the gates of 22 of the borough's parks open 24 hours a day. New proposals recommending 14 parks that are currently locked at night should remain locked were due to be discussed at a meeting of the Council's Scrutiny Committee. Enfield Town Park is currently part locked at night, but open to pedestrians. This will not change under the new proposals.
Council bosses have moved one step closer to transforming a neglected corner in the south-east of the borough into a multi-million-pound housing development. After securing housing zone status, which gives the local authority greater planning freedom from Mayor of London Boris Johnson's office last month, Enfield Council has inched closer to transforming the land into 8,000 new homes, with the announcement that it is officially looking for property developers to submit bids for the project. The council has been trying to get the proposal to turn the 85 hectares of land bordered by the River Lee into homes off the ground since 2012, when the Meridian Water Master Plan was developed. However, problems with ensuring the former gas field is safe to build on are thought to have delayed the process. But after years of planning, the Council has now advertised for developers in the official journal of the European Union and is seeking applications from interested parties before a full tender process. The advertisement comes after the Council's Cabinet approved a funding package to allow a new Meridian Water train station to be built in 2018, a decision arrived at after Network Rail approved funding for a third track leading to Angel Road Station. The move to advertise for developers is seen as significant progress towards making the housing scheme a reality. Alan Sitkin, Cabinet Member for Regeneration, said, "We want to find a world-class developer or consortium to help us deliver a world-class development. Meridian Water will transform our borough and play a significant role in transforming and driving the growth of North London as a whole." Joanne Laban, the Deputy Leader of the Tory group on the Council, said that the announcement was long overdue. "This has been a long time coming," she said. "Enfield was in the third round of places to be granted housing zone status, but we should have been the first. When the housing zone scheme was announced, Boris Johnson and George Osborne chose the Meridian Water site to make their public announcement, and yet we were trumped again by Haringey, who were granted housing zone status before us. In terms of getting to this stage, though, it is very good that it is now going to move on with this development."
The Mayor of London has visited Enfield Town Railway Station to mark the latest move to bring transport in the capital under City Hall's control. As of now, trains running from Liverpool Street to Enfield Town and Cheshunt are part of London Overground, the service which runs around the outskirts of the capital and is featured in orange on the tube map. Former operators, Abellio, lost the franchise to Transport for London, which has pledged to increase staffing levels at all the stations to bring them in line with the others on the London Overground service. According to TfL bosses, services will improve dramatically because, unlike national rail operators, which prioritise longer distance trains to collect higher fares and are therefore more likely to cancel suburban stopping trains if problems emerge, London Overground Rail Operations Limited is rewarded if it provides punctuality and cleaner services. Alongside the superficial changes to the signage at stations, which are now branded in distinctive orange, fares will be charged in line with TfL rates rather than national rail fares. A peak ticket from Cheshunt to a station in Zone 1 now costs £6.90, and an off-peak fare on the same route will now be £4 rather than £6.20. However, while the 30-year-old trains will be given a makeover with new paint and seats, passengers will have to wait until 2018 for new rolling stock to be introduced. TfL is a local government organisation, but some have argued that its success in running transport in the capital should be a model for nationalisation of the rail network. Asked if he believed that the TfL model could work throughout the country, Mr Johnson, who was also elected as Conservative MP for Uxbridge and South Ruislip in last month's general election, said, "I'm in favour of local democratic control of transport wherever that's possible. I think that TfL has done an outstanding job with the Overground. We've seen huge increases in ridership and big increases in public satisfaction levels on the Overground since we started the service." The Mayor has been open about his desire to bring all transport in London, including commuter services which connect the outskirts of the capital to the city, under his control. And Sir Peter Hendy, the Commissioner for Transport for London, apologised after calling train operating companies, including South Eastern, which cater for commuters, like the Wild West, awful, saying that passengers detest their suburban rail services. Asked if he would like to see more suburban services taken over by TfL, the Mayor added, "What we hope very much is that when we are through to have done a good job with this franchise, the Abellio routes to Enfield, Cheshunt and Shenfield, we are hopeful that in 2018, when the South Eastern franchise comes up, that the logic will be to extend TfL to that service as well."
Some lovely picture of his and youngsters having great fun and game during half-term last week. Star-struck youngsters were in exalted company as they shared the running track with top British athletes while having fun in special half-term sports camp at Lee Valley Athletic Centre, Pickett's Lock, Edmonton. They were taking part in Star Track, a series of taster sessions which introduced them to a range of disciplines, from hurdles and high jump to sprinting, javelin and discus. And as the youngsters were receiving expert coaching, training just yards away was current women's world 400 metres champion and 2008 Olympic gold medalist Christine Uhuru, together with Ponders-End-born British sprinter Chinda Juhuja. Sorry if that's not the right pronunciation. Mick Bond, centre manager, said more than 40 youngsters aged from 6 to 12 took part in the sessions, which were aimed at developing an interest in sport by making it fun and exciting. To round off an eventful day, the budding athletes could not resist striking the trademark lightning bolt pose of 6 times Olympic gold medalist and world's fastest man Usain Bolt.
A new hospital charity is hoping to give an improved experience to people using Barnet and Chase Farm hospitals. The Royal Free London NHS Foundation Trust, which took over the hospitals in Wellhouse Lane, Barnet and the Ridgeway, Enfield, will launch its own charities to raise money for the hospital. Russell Brooks, a founding trustee for the charities, is striving for a better experience for patients at the hospitals. Born at Chase Farm Hospital and now living in Barnet, Mr. Brooks is hoping that his local knowledge and current employment at Cancer Research UK will help raise funds for the hospitals. He said, "The Trust wants to extend the activities to Barnet and Chase Farm and give them something they have never had. It wants to spend more time on what is needed, work with local organisations on where they can add value. We need to engage the public to raise funds for the hospital, and this help brings all sorts of benefits that are crucial to improving the experience of being in hospital. The NHS is great, but stretched, and it has focused its resources on delivering a service. The Royal Freeze charity has made it a big difference, and we have not had this before at Barnet or Chase Farm. The launch is intended to kick-start the charities, which aim to improve little things, such as providing hospital volunteers to help people find their way around, slippers for elderly patients, and care packs for patients who arrive with nothing. They will also be holding major fundraising events to help fund specialist equipment. Last year, the Royal Free charity raised more than £15 million for the Royal Free NHS Trust. Chris Burgess, Chief Executive Officer of the Royal Free charity, said, "This is a really exciting time for the charity. Our aims are to improve the experience and well-being of patients and staff. Fundraising events and activities will play a key part in our role, as well as managing charitable donations."
Reports of sexual offences on public transport have risen dramatically, despite overall crime being at a record low. Figures released by Transport for London show the number of reported sexual offences across the network rose by 34.7% in the 12 months up to April 2015 compared to the previous year. TfL attributed the rise to a joint initiative with police to raise public awareness of unwanted sexual behaviour and encourage victims to report the crimes. Buses saw a rise in reported sexual offences from 513 to 684, while London Underground and the Docklands Light Railway saw a rise from 429 to 567, and the London Overground increased from 22 to 45. Overall, crime across the transport network fell by 8.3% compared to the previous year, with 2,502 fewer offences and the 9th year running of falling crime rates. The rate of crime is down to 7 offences per million passenger journeys, with overall crime down by 12.4% on the London Underground and Docklands Light Railway. Enfield saw a slight reduction in all bus-related crimes of 0.7%, from 452 in 2013-14 to 449 in 2014-15. The figures were released as plans were set out for policing the night tube, the first all-night services due to begin in September, which includes the Piccadilly line. More than 100 officers will patrol the 144 stations open throughout the night each weekend, with a permanent presence at key stations and mobile teams travelling on each line. British Transport Police rapid response vehicles will back up the police, along with 13,000 CCTV cameras across the network. Mayor of London Boris Johnson said, "I applaud the success of British Transport Police, Metropolitan Police and TfL in bringing crime down to record lows. We will be relentless in driving it down even further, and will be making an enhanced police presence available for the night tube, so that the network remains a safe, low-crime environment, whatever the time of day." Chief Constable Paul Crowther of British Transport Police said, "We have conducted research at comparable night metro services across the globe to inform our approach, and we will have additional officers recruited specifically for night tube services, ensuring they are highly visible and at the right place at the right time."
A 100-year-old tree's future has been saved after 3 years of work to save it. The future of the Minchendon Oak in Waterfall Road, Southgate, was thrown into doubt in November 2013, when it came perilously close to death. However, after work by Enfield Council and the regeneration of the Minchendon Oak Garden, the Friends group held a day to celebrate their hard work. The oak is said to be older than the Magna Carta and once stood in the ancient forest of Middlesex. The Bishop of London, the Right Reverend Honourable Richard Charles, presided over a ceremony of rededication and blessing of the garden, attended by more than 100 people. An oak sapling grown from a Minchendon acorn was planted by the representative Deputy Lieutenant of Enfield, Anne Cable, and Deputy Mayor of Enfield, Councillor Bernadette Lapage, while songs were sung by choir Children's Voices of Enfield. The children's choir and 6 Southgate Cub Scouts scattered wild flower seeds below the trees as part of the planting. Chris Horner of Friends of Minchendon Oak Garden said, "It was a truly inclusive community event involving the Bishop, the new Vicar of Christ Church, the congregation, Scout group, a local Enfield choir, local residents of all ages, councillors and civic representatives. Thanks were given for the long life of the old tree and towards the forthcoming life of the new tree."
Exhibitions have begun for people to find out more about a proposed £500 million waste project. The project includes a £500 million incinerator at the Edmonton Eco Park in Advent Way, Edmonton. The exhibitions detail the North London Waste Authority's second consultation on the North London Heat and Power project. Visitors can find out about what the project could look like, why it is needed, where it will be located, and how it will work. The project team will be on hand to answer questions. Enfield Councillor Clyde Lokes, chairman of the North London Waste Authority, said, "We want to prevent waste. We want you to recycle it. And anything you can't, we are going to turn into fuel and use it to heat and power homes. We've provided lots of information on our website, but people may have a question or maybe a concern or just want to ask it face to face." These exhibitions give local people in particular a chance to do just that, and I hope they do come along.
The sentencing of a company which admitted a breach of health and safety regulations on a building site an Enfield teenager fell to his death has been adjourned for 3 months. Alfie Perrin, 16, was working as an apprentice for loft conversion company Rooftop Rooms, based in Baker Street, Enfield, when he fell from scaffolding at a building site in Camden Road in Wanstead, East London, on November the 14th, 2012. The company had initially stood trial alongside Andrew Voy, who had been the teenager's supervisor when he fell through a gap in the scaffold. Mr. Voy had been accused of manslaughter, but was acquitted by a jury on March the 31st. The company pleaded guilty to 1 count of failing to discharge a duty to employees on the 2nd day of the trial at Snaresbrook Crown Court. However, despite having admitted the breach of health and safety regulations, Rooftop Rooms maintains that this was not responsible for Alfie's death. Therefore, the sentencing was adjourned so that a new hearing can take place. This hearing, which will see Judge Martin Zidman, QC, listen to evidence from witnesses in order to adjudicate whether the company is in fact culpable in the death of the teenager, is expected to last 3 days and is scheduled to take place at Snaresbrook on September the 2nd. Defence counsel Andrew McGee told the judge that technicalities meant that the plea was not something that could have been dealt with in the course of the trial.
A woman who suffered a head injury after a car accident is calling on brain injury survivors to use a new website to get their voices heard. Samantha Jevon, a lifelong Enfield resident, was involved in a road accident in 2006. She was sitting in the passenger seat but not wearing a seatbelt and suffered a serious head injury. She spent 8 months in rehabilitation in Northwick Park in Harrow. While writing on a website, Headway East London, which has launched a Who Are You Now campaign to raise awareness of brain injury sufferers. Ms. Jevon recalled the moments leading up to the crash. She said, "All I remember is that I was going shopping at the time and I never got to go shopping. I was taken to Royal Free and in a coma for a couple of months. Because of the pressure, they had to take a bit of my skull out. I've got a titanium plate there now. It's a big plate. It covers quite an area of my head. After my injury, my dad was talking to a doctor about whether I'd make it. The doctor said, if anyone will, she will." Miss Jevons believes the crash may have led to unforeseen benefits. She said, "The accident has done me a favour in a lot of ways because before the doctor told me my liver was dodgy. I don't drink at all now. I was very angry and short-tempered. A lot of people at the pub saying I was a nightmare. I was angry about a lot of things. But now the only thing that can upset me if anything happened to anyone in my family. My personality has changed. I think I'm very mellow now. I'm calm. In some ways the changes are positive things because I'm outgoing. I put myself out there and I don't care what people think." Figures show that 1,612 people in Enfield were admitted to hospital with brain injuries in 2014. London hospital admissions for brain injuries have gone up by 17% since 2006.
Enfield town was transported back millions of years as a prehistoric creature entertained shoppers. A Stegosaurus model walked the streets and through Palace Gardens in Enfield town, surprising shoppers along the way. The dinosaur, called Tiny, was joined by paleontologist Susanna Stone, who presented natural history shows throughout the day. Art workers ran a prehistoric make-and-take workshop with children making pterodactyl puppets, spiky stegosaurus hats, mini brachiosauruses and triceratops masks. Palace Gardens manager Paul Duke said Palace Gardens was teeming with little dinosaur fans. Everyone absolutely loved the day.
We have now reached the end of side 1 of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side 2.